You don't necessarily need to memorize these, but I think they can be useful for you. Some of the arguments we'll be discussing do have these particular valid forms. There are different, lots of different forms that a valid argument can have. Lots of different ways for an argument to be invalid too. Logic studies valid argument forms. Different kinds, tries to put them into categories, and tries to come up with some like general principles about what makes these arguments valid and those ones invalid. We're not going to do really any heavy-duty logic in here. If you're interested, I am teaching the symbolic logic course this semester, and I have taught the intro-level logic course in the past. That's offered, either one or both of those is offered, I think, at least every year at Wake. It's a lot of fun. For now, though, what we need to know, and what you can just sort of keep in mind generally, is sometimes we can let lowercase letters like P and Q be variables that stand in for declarative sentences. So sometimes you might see in a reading, or occasionally in something I might say in lecture, I might use these variables, and what you get is a symbolic language that represents valid argument forms. So this argument form is called modus ponens. First premise, if P then Q. Second premise, P, conclusion, therefore Q. So for example, an instance of this argument form can let P be it's raining, let Q be the sidewalk is wet. Swap in raining and the sidewalk is wet for P and Q. So the second premise will swap P in for it is raining, and then the conclusion, therefore Q, will swap in therefore the sidewalk is wet. You can see once you swap in the English versions of this and remove the variables intuitively that this is valid. Suppose you grant that if it's raining then the sidewalk is wet. Suppose you also grant that it's raining. What follows? Well, that the sidewalk is wet. Here's another argument form, modus tollens. This is also valid. If P then Q. Not Q, therefore not P. In other words, P is always accompanied by Q. You look around and you don't see Q, so what can you conclude if you know that P is always accompanied by Q? I guess not P. P must not be there either. So let P be it's raining and Q be the sidewalk is wet again. First premise is the same. If it's raining, then the sidewalk is wet. Second premise, we've got a not in front of the Q, so we can translate that as it is not the case that the sidewalk is wet. Well, if it's not the case that the sidewalk is wet, if you look around and you've got a dry sidewalk, and you also know that if it's raining, then that guarantees that the sidewalk is wet, you can conclude without looking up that it's not raining. That's a modus tollens inference. It's valid, it's handy. I kind of like modus tollens better than modus ponens. It's kind of fun. Here's our last one for now. This is called a disjunctive syllogism because disjunction is the name for a claim that has as its connectives either or. So either P or Q, not P, therefore, oh, sorry, I've got not Q, therefore P. It could also work with not P, therefore Q. But this one is either P or Q, not Q, therefore P. To see that this is indeed valid, consider let P be it's hot outside and Q be it is windy outside. So let the first premise be either it is hot outside or it's windy. Someone tells you those are the two options for today. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I hear it's either one or the other. You're like, okay, this person's usually reliable about the weather, so I'll believe that. I'm not going to ask why they don't know which one is which, but for whatever reason, they can guarantee it's either hot or windy. But then suppose that you discover, maybe you go outside, and you're like, I don't feel any wind. It's, I don't know, early in the morning, before the day has started. You're like, it's not windy. what follows? What can you conclude with your 2 bits of knowledge? Well, you can conclude that I guess it's going to be hot, or I guess it is hot outside right now. You have, in other words, eliminated one of the options, and so whatever option remains must be the one that's the case. It's a kind of process of elimination is one way to think about it. Okay, those are argument forms. We talked a little bit about validity. I would encourage you, if you're feeling like we just did a lot, we did, I would encourage you to put the video down for a little bit and go do something else, maybe even for a few hours, and then if it hasn't sunk in yet, rewatch it. We will feel free to come with questions for class next week. This is important enough that I want to make sure we spend enough time on it. And go ahead and read Thomas Aquinas. The document is called 5 Ways, but please just read. You can read all 5 if you want, but we're going to be focused on the second way. It's just a paragraph, so it's really easy. Give that a read and come to class with thoughts and questions, and I'm looking forward to our discussion on Monday. See you then.